77 unit housing for the elderly Villageant project on the vacant land approximately 2.4 acres located at the northwest corner of Ryan Street at Quinlan Drive, PWV 0883993200. This site is Zone B1 Community Business District with housing for the elderly overlay HEO district. I hereby open up the public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to make a comment as it relates to that subject only? Okay, then we're going to move right on. I hereby close the public hearing. Item 3 is citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with commission members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the commission is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the commission. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers are asked to please use the podium and state their name and address for the record. Is there anybody in the room that would like to make a comment on anything at all? Nothing? Okay, then we're going to move on to the approval of the regular planning commission meeting dated September 14th, 2023. I hope everyone's had a chance to look them over. Are there any questions, comments, corrections as the way they are presented this evening? And if not, would I have a motion to approve as presented?
Motion to approve as presented.
Grabowski, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are hereby adopted. Item 5.
Abstain because I was not at the meeting.
Okay,
Ma'am.
they're still approved.
Yes.
Item 5, old business, we have none. Item 6, new business. Review and discussion and possible action on request of applicants and property owners Jeff and Brenda Whistle for the architectural plan approval to remodel and refinish the exterior of an existing detached accessory building on their .2 acre B2 downtown business district zone property located at 521 Capitol Drive. This is coming back from last month. And Mary.
Sure. The commission will recall last month seeing this project in concept. Mr. Whistle, you see the map on your screen, is hoping to reskin basically and modestly remodel the exterior of this accessory building where there is a single family, there's a residential building here in front of the property. He really wants to build this back building. You can see that it's in pretty rough condition on the exterior. As far as its current footprint, it's considered legal non-conforming as to its setback from both Sussex Street and from Oakton Capitol Drive. So the remodeling that he's proposing to do, the reskin, includes this one feature that is a awning type addition onto the Sussex Street side of the building. I did get a chance to speak with the building inspections department today, and they confirmed that generally speaking, 24 inches or less in the overhang isn't looked at as part of what is calculated into the setback. It goes to the building wall. After 24 inches, they will look harder at it and consider whether it might potentially require any kind of a post support or anything like that, and may trigger the overhang to be a part of the setback calculation at that point. So provided it's 24 inches or less, they're going to be okay. If it's over that, then this approval can't be given at this time necessarily. We would have to, it can be given, but it's subject to the village staff having to review with the building inspections department whether they're going to continue to hold the wall as the setback or whether they're going to apply it to some part of the overhang, okay? It sounds like Mr. Whistle is talking about 24 inches or less. So really, I pointed out in the report on this item that with respect to the downtown guidelines, we do have this area in there that's called the transitional area. It's everything that's kind of off the lakefront, but still in the B2 downtown district. And what it says there is that the expected architectural style and materials would be reflective of the residential character of this transition area. And so I think his plans clearly go to that end, and the commission seemed to express support for that in discussion about this at last month's meeting and consultation. So really there's not much else to tell you about it, except that this awning on the south end doesn't change the setback or the offset of the building at all with respect to the street fronts. That's the only other addition or change to the structure itself. So no objections or code concerns there. I'll turn it over to the commission for consideration as to architectural plan approval.
Are there any questions or comments from the commission?
Nope, everything was great last time, and nothing further from me.
I did provide, these are the samples for
Those are
this,
the
right? These are the samples of the material.
Did you get, everybody see the samples?
Yeah, somebody had those, but you guys didn't have them last time.
Right, yep.
So that's
Here's
this is the
samples.
roof, which is that, it's, I'm gonna put this, did you want me to say my name?
Yes. Name and address.
Name and address if you could.
Jeff Whistle, 521 Capitol Drive. Yeah, so I brought a bigger piece of that, but that's that, and that white one is the color of the siding, and as we talked about last time, the siding's back ordered way out. If you want to see I did get a sample board of the, if you guys want to look at this, but I don't know if anybody cares. This is, I can give it to you. This is what we're going to put on this red looking stuff down here. It's not going to be red, it's going to be that color, but this is the product. And then there's a sample of the product in here. I mean, if you want to look at it. You want to look at it?
I've installed it.
And as she mentioned, the little awning out there, when we drew it at 24 inches, not knowing about the rule with the setback and all that. And I will certainly build it at 24 inches. If you want it less, I can build it less. It really doesn't.
It'll make your life a lot less complicated.
It really doesn't matter to me. My wife kind of wanted it on there, and that's why we put it on there, because that's kind of the in thing right now. So, we drew it at 24 just because I just randomly drew it at 24. If you guys think it should be a little less, we can do it a little less. It's, whatever you, not really set on anything there. Other than that, so that'll be like the type of vinyl that it is and the texture that it is, and it'll have that foam backing on it. And one other question I was going to ask. When we go, and we talked about this last time about doing the house at some point and do it, to match the what we're doing here. When I get around to doing that house, do I need to come back here again and have you guys okay that, or?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Like I said, we weren't going to do it right away, but like in a year or so, after we get this done and we get around to doing that, and it will match what's going on here. I mean, we might put some horizontal siding in there or something, but we'll go with the same roof, same color, and kind of make it all come together. I mean,
Yeah, this was a fresh break out of the box of what's on that site right now.
Yeah.
And so I think I've said this to the commission before. There are little changes to building colors or exterior materials that happen throughout the village from time to time. And we always have to kind of weigh and measure whether we're going to elevate it to the commission and ask you guys to decide whether that's a suitable change or not. We typically only trigger the ones that are like this, jumping out of the box for the first time on that site, transitioning out of the old building materials into something entirely new, a metal roof, for instance. So the next time this property comes to the village and asks to reskin a building, as long as it's consistent in terms of the colors and the materials and so forth, we won't necessarily trigger a plan commission review.
All right, well, that's good. That's what
Just
I wanted
check
to
with
hear.
Mary, that's a safe route.
Yeah, well, I obviously have to get the building permit and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll do that, but no, that's good. So then we don't have to come back and go through this.
Are there any other questions or comments? If not, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve as written by Mary.
Grabowski, second.
I'm sorry, Tim, did you have anything that you need? No, okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? All in
I
favor,
would just
say
point
aye.
out that we are going to log the color and material types
Right.
into the approval as a part of your action tonight.
That's all good.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Good luck, and thank you for improving the downtown.
All right, well, we'll get it.
Thank you for your patience.
Item 6B, review, discussion, and possible action on sign code waiver request of Wayne Palmer of Prodigy Lighting and Sign to install an oversized wall-mounted front fascia sign for tenant Groff Insurance DBA Allstate at 690 Westfield Way, Suite B. This 4.4 acre B1 community business zone property is owned by 690 Westfield Way LLC. Mary.
Sure. I think the commission is very familiar with the property at 609 Westfield Way. We see sign waiver requests at this property rather routinely, and the reasons are fairly obvious. The building itself sits well back from the Capitol Drive road frontage, over 500 feet from the shoulder of Capitol Drive. And then there's even an intervening private drive that's kind of behind the restaurants at the front and this building at the rear. It's 200 and some feet from that street as well. So its visibility is really challenging. And so the commission has in the past granted waivers from the maximum permitted sign area of 30 square feet on the facade for each one of the tenants to, in this case, they're asking for 49 square feet. And as in the past, I've reviewed it against the appearance of the sign in the space of the facade area itself. And I come to the conclusion that the 49 square feet doesn't overwhelm by scale the white space available to this tenant occupant. It seems to fit in there reasonably well. The oversize clearly would help in making the name of the business more visible to passing traffic. And so I don't raise any particular objections to the applicant's request as presented. I did have that single recommended condition you would attach, that is that the applicant must secure all the necessary permits, including but not limited to the sign permit, electrical permit, and similar, before placement of the sign at the site. So I'll turn it over to the commission for discussion action.
Any questions or comments?
One question, what is the largest we've approved on that building in the past?
Oof. Oh boy, off the top of my head, I can't recall.
That is looks to be comparatively sized. Just looking at the picture. Back in the day, Loaf and Jug or Panera would have been large in size as well. So this wouldn't be out of consistency with past practice of the commission on this building.
The dry cleaner that was there, that sign was quite large as well.
J.K. Lee.
Yeah.
Taekwondo.
Okay,
Dollar Tree has a 57.39 square foot sign.
okay, great. Okay, you answered both of you answered my question, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Don't have any problem.
I just have one that I'd asked Mary before. And that was, I think we've been seeing a lot of these sign code waivers. And usually they're in situations where the commission just, yeah, okay, we understand it's feasible. I'm thinking that we should maybe entertain, we can't do it tonight because I know, Mr. Attorney, we can't do that, but
Thank you.
I think we should at a later date maybe entertain a motion to allow staff to look at the signage, and then unless they feel that it's something that should come here, that maybe they just approve it.
Yeah,
Save people from coming.
especially if there's precedent with certain, it's this one and it's, St. Vincent de Paul, that's something, those two buildings are always, we're getting sign waiver requests from there. And if it's within what's already been approved. There's precedence that's there. I totally agree with you.
Okay, well, as it relates to this one, did I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve with Mary's recommendations.
I'll second. It's all yours.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Thank you very much. Item C is review, discussion, and possible action recommendation to the village board on the request of property owner Kirkland Crossings, Inc. for certified survey map approval to combine two lots located at the northwest corner of Bryant Street at Quinlan Drive, PWV 088399320 and 0883992 into one, the 11.76 acre lot, i.e. PVW 0883992, is zoned IPS Institutional Public Service District. The 2.5 acre lot, i.e. PWV 088399320 is Zone B1 Community District with housing for the elderly overlay HEO district.
Could you read that again?
Oh, sure. Review it. Mary?
It's a very straightforward, it's a very straightforward request. There are two existing lots at the northwest corner of Ryan and Quinlan that are both owned by Kirkland Crossings, and they would like to simply combine those. From the planning perspective, I have reviewed that to evaluate its consistency with the zoning district as to lot size and lot width, and see that the new lot is fully compliant as to both of the zoning districts that are in play at this real estate, on this real estate. And so I don't raise any objection from the zoning and planning side of the certified survey map as presented. I had a couple of recommendations in review of the map. First, that they replace the village administrator with the village clerk as a signatory on the map. And then secondly, just village engineer review and approval of the CSM as to its technical accuracy, enclosure in the legal description. And I know Tim had some comments as well.
All right, so I did have a few minor comments that I listed on my report. I did receive an updated certified survey map on Monday. And, they have addressed all my technical comments as well as Mary's comment regarding the signature page. So I would recommend approval of the CSM with the current date of October 9th, 2023. And I have no other subject comments that would make it subject to, so it's all ready to go as it is.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the planning commission?
I do.
Yes, sir.
So what I want to make sure that we're all clear on is because the two current properties, the two separate properties currently have two different zones. And the one up front, we've already gone through the process and did the overlay on. So by merging these two, do the two as a single entity assume the B1 with the overlay district zoning?
No, they retain their zoning separated.
Even though they're a merged lot? So how do we have two different zonings on one lot?
Well, in this particular case, and I guess that's the only reason we wouldn't have forced the rezoning request, is that the pre-existing lot is already fully developed. There are tweaky requests for modifications and amendments from time to time, add a gazebo, lay a new sidewalk, that kind of thing, minor requests, but those are evaluated in the context of the IPS zoning of the existing campus. And I believe it's a conditional use permit that they exist under. So that is what speaks to that part of the property. And this request speaks to just this 2.5 acres. Now there is crossover because they're combined. They're now able to enjoy the benefit of counting some of the assisted living units in the other part of the campus toward the development of this new building, which is all independent living units. So they're able to claim that crossover because it's one contiguous campus, one property. So other than that, I don't think there's going to be any complication with respect to holding the two separate zonings. It is legal to have separate zoning on one property.
Really, I can't think of another property that we have in the village where there's two zones.
Yeah, it's
For
not common to
It is
have
not
that in
common.
place, but it's not abnormal at the same
Yep.
time.
Okay, because we had talked also earlier about how in a merged property, we wouldn't be looking for a new CUG, but rather amending the existing CUG.
Yep.
So is that the case here, or are we talking about having two different CUGs?
No, we'll amend the CUG.
Okay, so it'll be under one common CUG,
Yeah.
the existing one, amending that.
Yep.
But it is, for all practical purposes, a common one. So in the unlikely scenario that, let's say there's a fire on the existing building, portion of that building burns down, they would have to go through rezoning at that point in order to fix it, wouldn't they?
No,
Because they're
not
no longer
necessarily.
compliant with the zoning because IPS doesn't allow for senior housing.
No, IPS does allow for senior housing. They're zoned IPS and it's senior housing there now.
Right, but we took it out of that. We removed it from institutional and put it into the B1 and B3.
But the conditional use grant carries on. That
runs with the
permission
land.
won't go away.
So it would be under the CUG that it would be allowed to be rebuilt if something happened
Yes,
under that zoning.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I learned something. After
It
12
is-
years, I'm still
It is
learning.
complex. In this case, it is complex,
Okay,
but manageable.
okay.
Just think, 5 years from now, you'll even know more.
Enough, Jeff.
Are there any questions or comments other than that?
Yes.
Yes.
Parking. In your write-up, you state, Mary, that
We're still on the certified survey map.
Yeah, that wouldn't apply.
This is still certified map.
I will
Next
wait.
item.
Next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, next one.
Thank you for bringing that.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion then? To move this forward to the village board?
Grabowski motion to approve, or to, was to approve with the,
Recommend to the
recommended the village board.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, this is gonna go to the village board now.
And let's make sure for the village board that we explain all this stuff because.
combo zoning and
Yeah,
everything like that.
because they're less aware of it than even we are, and I wasn't aware. So we just need to make sure it's real clear for them.
So that means, Matt, you'll have to be at the
Become a de
village
facto
board
expert
meeting.
now, so you can explain it, so, right?
Mary can do a much better job than me.
Which one is that? I don't know. Oh, it's that one.
I just turned this one on, too.
Oh,
Turn the one at a time. All right.
try that one.
I must have.
Wasn't mine, I'm gonna turn my phone off anyway.
That was a bad joke alarm, Craig.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna go on to
reached
item
out.
D. Review, discussion, and possible action on conditional use grant request of property owner Kirkland Crossings, Inc. to develop a 77-unit housing for the elderly building project on the vacant land approximately 2.4 acres located at the northwest corner of Ryan Street and Quinlan Drive, PWV 0883993200. This site is Zone B1 Community Business District with housing for the elderly overlay HEO district. Mary?
Sure. So the commission is clear on this new building being proposed on the 2.5 acres at the very corner of Quinlan and Ryan. It's going to be developed as housing for the elderly, 77 units, senior independent living. calls for 28 one-bedroom, 49 two-bedroom units, okay? And there are various other elements within the building to serve the residents. And now, because these lots are being combined, and I think it was intended all along, these residents will have the benefit and enjoyment of all of the other campus offerings to the residents of Kirkland Crossing. So the plan as presented is compliant in its ratio of 75% independent to 25 assisted when considering the entirety of units across the whole campus. And that is the exact ratio that was recently recommended by the Planning Commission as an amendment to the Housing for the Elderly overlay and ratified by the board. So they're right on mark there. Overall, with respect to density, they'll be at about 13.8 units per acre, well within the maximum 20 per acre that's allowed under the code. There's new parking being added, 77 stalls underneath the building for 77 units, and then there will be 17 surface stalls. I think based on previous review and discussion about this, when the presentation was made the first time around, there was concern whether those 17 stalls would adequately support the needs of visitors and staff to assist and support the new building. And the applicant really feels very strongly that that is and they've given us some information in their narrative, their submittal, as to why that 17 should indeed be adequate. And also, again, because it's now one campus, we know for certain that the parking is shared throughout, okay? In fact, they even indicate that some of the 77 stalls, in their experience, will go vacant underneath the building, that not all 77 will necessarily be used by residents. Moving on, just from the standpoint of what does it mean for senior living in the village, we use the definition provided by the state, which is to say that 55 and older is the threshold occupancy age. There is the potential for younger people to live there, but it's a very limited ratio, and they have to prove that they're always marketing to the 55 and older, okay? With respect to the bulk spatial design requirements of the code, we have the maximum floor area ratio set at 40% in the Housing for the Elderly overlay. They are at approximately 78% as to this phase exclusively. Again, because we're now combining the phases, there is it is a perceivable increase in green space. There's a perceivable increase in green space comprehensively, though it hasn't been specifically measured throughout the existing campus.
So we would have to determine the compliance based on the overall campus yet.
We have not.
But we would have to do that yet.
We would have to do that, but it would be a laborious exercise in surveying an existing campus.
Okay, so we would prefer not to have to go through that exercise.
So because this is in the conditional use forum, the Planning Commission does have the authority to waive or modify that specific standard. And the elderly housing overlay goes on to say that specifically, that this and certain other bulk and spatial matters can be waived and modified by the commission. I think that it's a reasonable presumption that they are much closer to the 40 blended with the balance of the campus. So the hope is that the Planning Commission will accept the plan presented as is and waive that 40% standard to per existing conditions and as proposed.
Okay.
But that's up to the commission. Maximum building height, they are a scotch over the maximum 55 feet permitted under the revised building height standards that were recently adopted. Again, they're asking, and I'm talking about a 2-inch over requirement. They're asking that that be waived as well, and I know that came up as a part of the conversation the last time they were here with the conditional use grant request, and there was a general consensus among commissioners at that time that a minimal overage, because they're using this gabled roof form in their architecture, was a worthwhile exception. With respect to the building setback, the building is fine at 50 feet. It's fine at 20 feet from the sides and rear. The open space ratio is sufficient as to this site. The existing site would be per existing conditions. The minimum parking lot and drive setback, it's fine along Quinlan Drive. It is not compliant along Ryan Road. And I can run you down to kind of that site plan to refresh the commission on how that looks. Zoom out here to get to the right sheet. Right here, you can see the 25-foot parking setback line.
You have the next sheet, you'll have a blow up, and we're closer to my knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you. There you go. This is the 25-foot parking setback line. And what you see in gray here is a circulation area. That would be this small area right here would be the exception, the waiver to the 25-foot parking area setback.
So if we were to do that, I guess, Matt, as a question for you, would we be looking for them to provide some kind of a waiver to us that if something happened and we needed to?
It's not in the right-of-way.
Right.
It's not,
This is just
it's still on the private property.
Oh, it's 25% from the right-of-way.
It's
Got it.
25 feet
Right.
from the property
Got it.
line, which is the right-of-way.
property
Right,
line.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's
okay.
not encroaching on the right of way.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So that, I just wanted to point that out. And then jump back to my conclusions. So that really summarizes, I think, the extent of variation from the bulk and spatial standards. I think that we have seen this building before. The plans really speak for themselves in terms of the exterior building materials, the colors, and so forth. If there are questions, the applicant has their team here. They have a presentation available to make to you tonight if you want to see that presentation and hear their most up-to-date rep on the project. From my perspective, I had the following recommendations, and I left one out that's very important. First, that the fire department review and approve the serviceability of the project from a public safety standpoint. I believe that that has already been done, but we'll keep it in conditions to ensure that that is the fact.
So, sorry to interrupt, but so the question about that one side where it's 63 feet in height, they're comfortable with that from a serviceability standpoint?
Who from your team has worked with the fire department?
Yeah, so we basically have ran the fire truck close to the building as possible, so that the larger height, they would be on the top of the hill, and that height wouldn't be an issue.
Okay, I thought that you had consulted with the fire department directly, and that was that? Okay, so I will still be looking for something from the fire department to sort of confirm that back by that condition. Secondly, village engineer review and approval of all the grading, drainage, stormwater management, erosion control, street access, and utility plans offered in support of the project before issuance of any permit to begin site prep or construction. Issuance of a sign permit prior to placement at the site. I didn't get into it orally, but it's in my report. They do propose to keep the existing monument sign, but modify it, and it with its modifications is code compliant in its location and design. And they want to add a second one over off the Quinlan Drive entry area. And that one is also compliant as to sign design and placement. Okay? But they will need a permit for each of those before they do any work on that. Number 4, staff review and approval of the exterior lighting plan. We had one previously. I did review it at that time. I don't expect that it has changed much, if any. And so at that time, it was reviewed and considered to be code compliant. The only exception was an over 0.5 foot candle at the lot line right along Quinlan. And I believe that that was being influenced by possibly some existing street lighting, but it was modestly over. So that's an exception that I think we would certainly build into the overall approval. We generally do with respect to lighting plans. If they're being influenced by existing ambient lighting in the area, we accept that slight overage on 0.5. Number 5, staff review and approval of the HVAC location and screening plans when the locations and fixtures are settled on by the developer and before placing the HVAC at the site. Number 6, staff final review and approval of the detailed schedule of building materials and colors consistent with the renderings offered. Number 7, planning commission to provide express acknowledgement as to any areas where the exception from the code standards is requested and may ultimately be approved. Number 8, drafting and full execution of the conditional use grant and related land covenant documents to memorialize the terms of any approval given. And that should be recorded prior to the start or issuance of permits in support of the project. Number 9 is important, and that would be that the certified survey map combining the two lots should be recorded in advance of the conditional use permit being finalized. So the order of events needs to be CSM conditional use. Okay. And I know Tim had some comments.
Tim?
All right. Not much has changed from the earlier version of their submittal. I'll just go through the site a little bit. The site grading, this particular site falls from the high side on the northeast side to the south. The buildings were set into the grade there is going to be very similar to what's out in the street. It won't sit real high, except on the south side there's an exposure for the lower level. But it fits the grade really well in there. Stormwater management is going to be underground, under the parking lot when you enter the site and you go to the east a little bit. And so they have addressed, they've done some design work. They're missing some technical information, though subject to the engineer addressing those technical pieces of information and making that a complete submittal. We feel like that will meet the village requirements. As far as access, as you all know, there's only one access point to this off of Quinlan. It does go into the lower parking as well as into an upper on-site parking. That area that has the 25, where it conflicts with the 25-foot parking setback, that's actually required there, or not required, but it's put in there in order to get a fire truck to get around that site. That's really what it's for. That's that extra asphalt to get the fire truck around the site. And so they do show, I do have a drawing that shows the movement of the fire truck and that it can get into the site and maneuver all the way around and back out of the site. It's limited as to what exactly the fire truck can be. It's not going to be a ladder truck, I can tell you that, but that's Pewaukee had provided the truck that they would normally use to get into that particular site at that point. As far as sanitary sewer and water goes, there's water along Ryan Road in the off the road. It's not in the pavement, and so they will connect their water off of that water main on the far northeast side. The sanitary sewer runs along the lot line. I'm sorry, what will be the former lot line between the two lots. It runs right along that lot line. And so they will be able to connect to that particular sanitary sewer and come in from the west. Condition that I had put into mind that they'll have to follow all the requirements of the village for making those connections on that. So everything else was in pretty good shape. So I'm recommending that you approve the engineering drawings. I listed them on my recommendation. They've got, what they did is they had some of the old sheet numbers, like C001, and then they added a sheet C001A, which was usually a blow-up. So they created the lot, new sheets for the whole site, basically, is what they're showing. And then they show a blow-up of the site of this particular 2.5 acre site area. So I'm recommending approval of those plans plotted September 12th, 2023. And the stormwater management plan dated February 22nd, 2023, subject to addressing all the technical comments that we provided to their engineer on October 4th of 2023.
Are there any questions or comments from the planning commission? Anyone?
And Mary, you're satisfied with the outdoor parking spaces?
I am, yep, based on all the material they provided in their narrative, and the fact that the campuses are now combined, and the existing campus can support this if the need would arise. It is interconnected by walking paths, so I feel like we say in the code that with respect to senior housing, we rely on the applicants to, tell us what they truly believe is going to be their demand. And so I trust that the material they provide us is accurate.
And I wish to compliment them on the different types of material and colors of the exterior of the building. I mean, we've gone through this with many other projects, and I think this is really a nice looking, attractive project.
Yeah, if you want to reskin the existing building to look like this, that would be outstanding.
Would they need to come to us for a permit on that?
No.
We could waive that. No, it is. I agree. Cheryl's comment that it's a very attractive building. It is.
And I know there's a lot of extra cost and planning in this, and this is what we want. This is what we've been looking for in our project. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If there are none, I'll look for or entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use grant for the 77-unit housing for the elderly building as presented here, specifically waiving the maximum floor area ratio based on the unified lot, and waiving the provision for the maximum building height, and waiving the setback from Ryan Road as presented, and including the planner's recommendations and the engineer's recommendations as well.
The parking setback was the waiver, correct?
Yes, that's the one that's off of
Ryan Road.
Ryan Road, yes.
And then there was an additional, the timing of the recording of this certified
Right,
survey.
item number 9, which I include as part of planner's recommendations.
Okay, do I have a second?
I will second. Go ahead.
Cheers.
Okay. All right, I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Thank you so much for all your time and patience.
You guys didn't have to give the presentation tonight.
That's right.
Save me a room.
Yeah, good luck.
Okay, item E, review, discussion, and possible action recommendation to the village board on the request of Richard Yezzi, DBA All Trucks Holding LLC to amend section 40.316 of the village code to include a limited opportunity through conditional use for the use medium and heavy-duty truck sales to be considered for approval in the B5 Light Industrial Zoning District, Mary.
This will be the one we're gonna spend an hour on.
Did say Mary.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yes.
One sentence.
So this came up, I think the commission is aware that we had somebody come in consultation and ask, would you consider, like you did for light trucks and automobiles, would you consider adding that in the B5 as an accessory subordinate use to an auto service facility for medium and heavy-duty trucks? And the commission generally was supportive of that idea and asked that some language be prepared to that effect. And so that's what you have in front of you tonight. It would read that medium heavy-duty truck sales and display use not to exceed one outdoor vehicle parking or display space as a subordinate and accessory use conducted in support of an approved principal conditional use auto service facility. So that really puts it in a box right there. We would allow medium heavy-duty truck to be defined as vehicles 8,000 pounds or greater, gross vehicle weight, and eligible to be licensed by the DOT as a heavy truck, excluding motor trucks used as a motor home with a slide-in camper unit. That language about the camper comes from the DOT license plate section. Apparently they would normally register those as heavy truck, but I didn't hear that the commission wanted to include that in the language, so I excluded it here. Now, I have since had some input from the village president, who feels like we might be better served to think about some alternate language with respect to the weight of the vehicle. And so this afternoon, I was able to just kind of piece together what I think your guidance was on this. And his concern is that, there are these gross vehicle weight ratings that are provided by the vehicle manufacturers and the trade journals and things like this. And they classify things differently than the state of Wisconsin does with respect to license plating, okay? And so the belief is that instead of saying 8,000 pounds or greater gross vehicle weight, we would say vehicles greater than 14,000 pounds gross vehicle weight rating and eligible to be licensed by the DOT as a truck. Okay, so that would really enable then everything that's 14,000 and over and eligible to be licensed as a truck to be placed in these B5 locations under these circumstances: one outdoor display space, parking for one vehicle on the site. So I'm going to turn it back to the village president to kind of clarify and let me know if this comes close to reflecting the changes you had discussed with me.
Well, what I did was I went on the website, and of course it's real because it's on the web.
You can trust it.
Right. And there's three classifications. There's light duty, medium, and heavy. And heavy, I believe, medium was usually 14,001 to 26,000 pounds. Heavyweight was 26,000 pounds, 26,001 and greater. And anything under 14,001 was considered a light duty, although there are some pickup trucks that can be classified as a light medium, but we don't want to get into that. We want to just stay with the regular medium and light duty. So I asked Mary if she would just maybe make it a little easier instead of 8,000, because I think when we were looking at pickups, I think we went to that 8,000 or.
We took that out. We took the weight
Oh, we
number
took that
out
out, okay.
for the trucks.
But I think using the 14, well, we'd have to add the 1 to that, but using the 14,001 pounds gross vehicle weight requirement or restriction, however you want to say it, and over is for medium and heavy duty, or you could separate the two. If you wanted to say the medium duty is 14,001, the 26, heavy duty is 2601 and over, you could do that, but I think this is just more simplification, plus with throwing, as Mary put in there, and eligible to be licensed by DOT as a heavy-duty truck excluding. I think we cover that, but then she did throw a monkey wrench in there and said, what about like the vans that are sold by
Like step vans and
Step vans.
sprinter vans and
Do we want
things
to
like
allow
this.
that as part of it, or do we want that excluded, specifically excluded in this?
Are they considered trucks?
No, I think this language keeps us clear of
Okay.
that issue.
I don't think they reached that GVW either.
I think it's gotta be like super light.
No, yeah, I mean, the Sprint,
It's like a cargo van.
Right? It's like a box and 4 wheels. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, that's things, there's no way.
yeah, the Sprinter, 3,500.
Sprinter's right around, what, 6,800 or 7,800 pounds?
They have a 3,500 version, 3,500 chassis,
Oh, okay.
which will go up to, let's do it. At 14, I think we're safe. And I would agree with your numbers. Yeah, their gross is 99, which keeps them under. That's right. At 10,000 pounds, you need it's DOT licensing at that point. So if you're interstate travel, you need to have a DOT number, and then you have to have your Fed med card, your medical examination in and out of state. So that's why they keep it at 9,900. So 10,000 is like a cutoff, and then 14 is another cutoff. So if we keep it at 14, what I'm saying is basically, if we keep it at 14, I think we're safe with what we're trying to do. So.
I'd like to go to the 1401, because like.
Yeah, 1401, that 1401, yeah.
Well, it says
It's
greater
greater
than
than-
14,000.
14,000.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay,
Essentially,
okay.
it's the same thing.
1401 is greater than 14,000.
Yeah.
Are we okay with this then? The new version?
I'd be fine with it.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments? Are we okay with the whole situation of him selling, but being able to deliver a truck there and work on it and all that stuff, so.
Well, that he has to come back and ask for once this language is adopted.
Right.
So I guess the next question would be is, okay, this would be a recommendation again to the village board. So is there anybody that would like to make a recommendation to the village board?
Suggested last month.
Make a recommendation to the village board to amend the conditional use for automobile service facilities in the B5 Light Industrial District with recommendations from Mary and input from Jeff to include the above 14,000 pound weight limit. Did I cover that? Yeah.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Okay, we have no one here this evening any further, so there are no citizen comments. 8 is an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded by Grabowski.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everyone. It's been carried. We've been adjourned.